Today I've got a treat for those CEOs who really care about sustainability. This is the Mercedes-Benz EQS 580, an electric limousine with up to 676 kilometers of range. Theoretically.
The Mercedes-Benz EQS is a computer on wheels. It's the first time I've seen a 130-page long press release. That's how excited about it Mercedes is. This car could theoretically take you from Berlin to Amsterdam on a single charge. Spoiler alert, you'd have to charge before you cross the border into Netherlands. Which may not be a problem if you live somewhere like Germany or the Netherlands, but could be an issue if you live somewhere like Poland or any other less electrified country. And access to rapid charging is what makes or breaks cars like the EQS.
A quick housekeeping note. This video appears on my new English-only YouTube channel. All my reviews in English are now on this channel, and hopefully so are all the comments. A lot of technical stuff going in the background. I created this new English-only channel for your convenience and because the old bilingual channel was underperforming because of the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe to this channel, and as this is going to be a rough couple of months with the YouTube algorithm trying to figure out what's going on, I strongly suggest you also subscribe to my newsletter, in which I will notify you only about new videos and some relevant reviews on this channel. No spam. Link in the description. I'll start with what's wrong with EVs if you don't have the charging infrastructure in place. I realize there are many factors at play: financing, location, energy supply, red tape. In late 21, early 22, driving an EV in Poland is like hurdling, and that's not something you want to hear when you're looking at a 150,000 euro car. Looking for chargers and hoping they're not going to be occupied is somewhat of a hassle, but that didn't stop me from driving around 360 kilometers to another city and back in one day. I managed to do it in about 10 hours with 2 charging stops.
I set off from home with 90% charge. I need to get a proper wall box, so I had to charge along the way. The best I could find along the route was a 90 kilowatt charger in a mall, so before I found the restroom and got back, I recharged more than enough to get to my destination safely. The Mercedes-Benz EQS can take up to 200 kilowatts from a DC charger. As standard, it has an 11 kilowatt onboard AC charger, but you can order a 22 kilowatt charger as well. With an almost 108 kilowatt-hour battery, more powerful onboard charger cuts charging time from 10 to 5 hours. That's if your home or office wallbox can supply this much power. Once I got to my destination, I left the car on another 90 kilowatt charger, ran some errands and returned to a fully charged battery. This allowed me to drive back home to Warsaw without any stops. I got back home with around 8% charge left. So close to 400 kilometers is feasible.
I should add, the outside temperature was below freezing and there was some snow and rain along the way. Not ideal conditions for EVs, but not terrible either. I set the cruise control to around 120 kilometers per hour, and at the end of my journey, the energy consumption was 27.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. From my observations, the most economic speed is around 110 kilometers per hour, but then there was like a high-pitched wind noise, so I had to go faster. Above 120, the 4MATIC suspension drops the car 20 millimeters, so it becomes more aerodynamic. It makes sense to get above 120 for a while, let the car drop, and then settle down just below 120.
Mercedes boasts record low drag coefficient of just 0.20. That's very important in EVs because drag is what can really cut your range. Mercedes is also proud of the 8-core processor with 24 GB of RAM, which runs all the onboard system. There's also artificial intelligence, but even that's not enough to plan a good route. Never mind a simple 10-kilometer route through the city that takes too long to process. I'd be better off with Google Maps. On a longer journey, there are charging stops, and these need to take into account preferred networks, so I understand why this might take a bit longer. But even then, the computer may suggest a charging stop on an AC charger to regain 4 points, and this will be off the main route during the rush hour, adding an hour to your trip when you're 15 kilometers from your destination.
I know there was a 10% safety buffer set in the navigation, and the computer actually displayed a message that the destination may be reached without charging, if I decide to risk going below 10%. And that's fine. But why not plan a quick, rapid charge along the actual route rather than try pushing me into rush hour traffic? Perhaps it's a matter of the artificial intelligence learning my habits. For AI in press cars, it must be like Groundhog Day every time a new journalist starts driving. But to sum up, with temperatures just below 0 Celsius, it is possible to get 370-380 kilometers from the EQS. It'd be nice to have rapid charger hubs, so I don't have to worry about someone occupying the only CCS outlet even for 15 minutes.
And how's the EQS to drive? It's quick. This is the 4MATIC, which does 0 to 100 km per hour in 4.3 seconds. For real, that's over half a second quicker than the S500 claimed result, and about a second quicker than what I really got in the S-Class. Link in the bio. The EQS is also very comfortable. The pneumatic suspension irons out most bumps. You have to find a really nasty pothole to feel the car weighs more than 2.5 tons.
Which takes us to braking and inertia. Once you really start braking, everything starts flying. Luggage in the boot, cups in the cup holders, phones in the cubbies, and jackets on the rear seat. Also, the brake pedal gives different feedback depending on the recuperation level. At the highest recuperation level, the brake pedal drops halfway before you feel the car start actually braking, like this. Oh! And that makes stuff fly around even more.
With 524 horsepower and 855 Nm of torque, you want to have better brake feel, otherwise it can get really scary for you and everyone around. Visibility around the A-pillars is terrible. I can't see pedestrians crossing the road, which is a bummer taking into account what I just said about braking. Also, due to the batteries living in the floor, I'm sitting quite high, almost touching the ceiling, so I can't see the traffic lights and I have to rely on the augmented reality display.
Speaking of augmented reality, something I like and appreciate, usually, I'm not a fan of moving the navigation to the side to display the AR view in the center. The AR arrows can appear a bit too late, which I'd rather confirm on the map, and then I have to look for the map which shifted towards the passenger. I'm sure it's something that I could get used to, but I just don't like it. Also, I can turn AR off, but then why have it at all? I'd rather have it on the HUD only, or maybe on the driver's display.
By the way, the AR on the HUD is, in my opinion, an early implementation. Perhaps it will get better with time, but for now it seems to make things more confusing for me. Fortunately, other driver aids, including the adaptive cruise control with lane keeping assist and the lane change assist, work well. Except for when I'm overtaking lorries, sometimes the collision warning seems to set in and the car brakes for a split second.
The EQS is also very easy to maneuver. The turning circle is less than 12 meters with the standard 4-degree turn of the rear wheels. Optionally, you can activate 10 degrees turn of the rear wheels, which gives you a meter tighter turning circle. Now, this activation business is something the car makers are going to offer more in the future. Cars will have features for you to unlock as you need them. For example, more advanced headlights during the winter road trip rather than for using every day.
Driving for a couple of hours on the dual carriageway at night, I managed to film the matrix LEDs at work. You can see how they cut out the car I'm overtaking. The Mercedes-Benz EQS is about the size of the S-Class. It falls between the standard and long wheelbase versions in terms of length, with the wheelbase as long as the larger S-Class. You can tell the EQS from a distance by the light bars in front and rear, like on the EQC and EQA. The rounded off front is simply called the black panel. I think Mercedes has done a good job with transforming the place where the grille once was, but historically the three-pointed star appeared here while the BMW logo was always on the bonnet. The side profile and the rear are less interesting. I think aerodynamics was the priority, along with attempts to mask the thick floor. And like BMW, also Mercedes claims only qualified technicians can open the bonnet, but it's enough to open a flap in the footwell to find a good old red lever. It's better than those cables you pull in the BMW iX. Under the bonnet you'll find a large hole where the cable storage could be, and there is no prop, so I had to use my own. Hey Mercedes, hey BMW, do you really think people are not going to look inside and use weird objects to keep the bonnet open? Close to the driver's door is this long flap that's for adding window washer fluid without you having to pay a qualified technician to open the bonnet for you. The EQS may be a limousine, but it's also a liftback. I'm not sure if you're planning many trips to IKEA with your EQS, but if you are, the standard boot capacity is 610 liters, and with the seats down, it's 1770 liters. Under the boot floor, there is decent storage, just enough for charging cables, which should be under the bonnet, but then you'd have to pay a qualified technician to open it. Do you see how ridiculous this is?
Predictably, there's plenty of legroom and headroom in the back, but as this is a very modest spec, there are no rear cup holders. Those are available only with the luxury rear seat package. I'm sitting on the poor man's seat. And plebs like myself may also have to open and close the door. The automatic comfort doors will be available at a later date. I'm not sure whether it's a feature you can activate at any time or whether it's something you'll have to order when configuring the car. What am I, an animal? Oh. In the front, there is 141 centimeters wide screen. Actually, we're talking about a curved glass because there are 3 screens underneath it. The driver display and the central display are nothing unusual, but the passenger display is a bit more rare. You can display photos, clock, some basic settings so the driver doesn't have to lose sight of navigation. I think the third screen is something Mercedes decided to incorporate, not because it's particularly useful, but because they needed something to fill the space under this elegant wide glass panel.
If you've driven any recent Mercedes, you're probably familiar with the MBUX interface. In the EQS it's bigger and the climate control settings are now on the screen as well, but it's not intimidating. The only physical controls I found are the door handles, the basic seat settings, the light switch, the parking brake, the start button and the hazard lights. Everything else is kinda sorta touch operated. The seat's memory buttons are on a touch panel under the seat heating and ventilation, and these can be pressed by mistake. Also, the door release handle and the door lock buttons are too far back. Better get the automatic door closing and opening once it's available. I got used to the touch buttons on the steering wheel. They're not ideal, but they could have been worse, like those buttons on the center tunnel. Those are also too far back and I have to bend my hand at a weird angle to use them. Also, I tend to rest my elbow on them when I'm operating the central display. The door pockets are average size. There is some storage on the center console with the cup holders, wireless charger and a place for miscellaneous items. Storage under the armrest is deep, but be careful as it can get hot in there due to the climate vents going underneath. Probably it gets cold when the AC is running in the summer. To open the glove box, you need to find a button which is invisible from the driver's seat, and for this big a car, the glove box is tiny. And why those beautiful round air vents are made of plastic? Prices of the Mercedes-Benz EQS start at €98,000 for the EQS 350, €106,000 for the EQS 450 Plus, and €135,000 for the EQS 580 4MATIC. This rather unassumingly spec'd press car costs a modest €160,000.
The Mercedes-Benz EQS is one of those few EVs offering satisfactory real-life range. However, the price for this range, literally and metaphorically, is, in my opinion, too high. I got similar range from the Kia e-Soul, which is not as luxurious but easier to recommend. And how do you like the Mercedes-Benz EQS? Let me know in the comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.